I'm hoping. I really liked their comp game one. I think it was much better. I think it was mostly better because of how they drafted for more early game and mid game as opposed to just straight late game damage and then randomly picking a Gwen just to hopefully somehow put a band-aid on it. It's like, that's not going to help. And we are going to be going in a draft here with Fever on red side once again, as we saw in game one. And this time, Nine-Tailed Fox does get bans on blue side. So they do get those first 3 bans.
I'm really curious to see how that adaptation is going to come out for Ninetale Fox Onyx here when they have these bans available. Diana, Rek'Sai are going to be their first 2 bans on the table here. Meanwhile, Varus, at least once again, being banned away by Fever. In the first series, it's been the Varus banned out every game so far here from Fever, not wanting to give over that strong AD carry to Jerry Blue. I want to see if the Cassiopeia is still going to remain on the ban table here for Fever, though. I would actually personally like to see, you've already got the 2-0, game 3, let them play the Cassiopeia, see how it goes, and allow the enemy even to come into this third game. It's hard to play game 3 when you've already lost 2, but have fun with this third game. Try and pull out a win if you're Ninetale Fox Onyx, and if you're Fever, they're actually giving over the Cassiopeia, and I like to see a little bit of courtesy given in that regard.
I mean, they did give the Cassiopeia over, but what are the chances that they actually first pick the Cassiopeia? Because she does have some very poor matchups like the Nocturne, which, I mean, the Nocturne hasn't been banned this game either. So if they are looking to pick the Cassiopeia, it has the same exact weaknesses as the Orianna. And it's not a B1, that is a Lucian.
Yeah, B1 Lucian is definitely an interesting pick here. I am happy to say that Morgana was the last pick here for Ninetale Fox Onyx, so not giving that one over to Fever this time around, which is going to open up your possibilities for that first pick there. Lucian, the same idea as Tristana getting banned out here by Fever, is being able to flex into the mid lane or into the bottom lane, though Lucian is most traditionally a mid laner these days, so I do expect to see that being piloted in the mid lane, which brings up some questions. Is this actually going to be played mid? I would expect it to be played bot, and that Cassiopeia would get locked in here. But if they hold off on locking it in, which they don't, solution bot or potentially top, we'll have to wait and see. Ninetale Fox Onyx, again, they're picking a B1 here with potential for flex pick, and then immediately showing their hand when it comes to that flex pick.
Yeah, that is something that we've unfortunately seen all 3 drafts from Nine-Tailed Fox with the Volibear and the Tristana in the first and second games. But I mean, this is what we were expecting mostly, right? I mean, this mid laner player is clearly a control mage player, and I mean, I'm not expecting them to pull out a Lucian in game 3. It is going to be luckily their comfort pit on the Cassiopeia, as well as the Alistar locked in into the Braum.
Into Braum is a very hard matchup as well here. Xayah and Volibear are also locked in for Fever. This Alistar has to make sure that they're able to get their Aftershock procced if they decide to run Aftershock and not Guardian this game, because if you jump in and you don't get that initial CC, you are up creek without a paddle. You are going to get absolutely shredded from the concussive blows into Xayah's Feather Recall, and that is just going to mean getting shredded in late game team fights. However, hitting into the second ban phase, it does look like that first ban from Fever got ignored here, so I'm not sure if that was accidental or intentional. It looks like it is going to be a Jinx ban coming in. Thank you, production, for letting us know from Fever. So saying that they think this Lucian is going top lane and not giving over that hyper carry once again to Ninetale Fox Onyx.
I think the only time I've seen Lucian top in the last month or 2 is when Perks pulled it out in MSI. I think it was like 2 or 3 days ago, and then they swapped Fudge mid lane. And I mean, Perks played it extremely well, but I do believe that they ended up losing that game. And there is the Nocturne ban there, so it will be a better matchup for Cassiopeia, hopefully, in this mid lane, not having to go against the one champion all control player mages hate.
And I'm curious to see that this Gwen has been banned out as well from Fever here. So taking away a couple of these staple picks for Ninetale Fox Onyx. I do agree the Nocturne ban is going to be massive here. I would actually like to see another anti-Cassiopeia ban coming in from the side of Ninetale Fox Onyx. The Kha'Zix does do a good job of being able to pick off this lone snake. The Bug surprisingly winning that one out. So I do like to see this ban coming in as well. The big question here for Fever, though, is do they decide to show their mid lane, or are they going to reveal where this Volibear is going?
I would probably expect it to be some sort of safe mid laner. Maybe a classic control mage like a Seraphine or Orianna. But I mean, it could very well just be locking in jungler or a Swain. That is a safe mid
Ooh,
laner.
that that is a safe mid laner, but a weird mid laner. I personally like this pick a lot. I think that it goes under the radar for a lot of teams. The amount of team fight survivability that he provides for his team and the amount of frontline potential that he provides for his team is absolutely insane. And so far, Fever here looks like they have a really snowbally, tanky composition that once they get rolling, they're going to take some of these team fights and run away with them, just never really die.
Yeah, and I mean, we did see Rice really pop off on the rail last game, and now he's going to be on this Braum. So, I mean, it is still a playmaking support, right? But it's nowhere near the playmaking ability that Rel has, and I'm not sure what that pick is on B4 quite yet.
We'll have production let us know what it is once they know. No, it looks like it is going to be a Jarvan pick. Thank you again, production, for keeping us up to date on some of these picks. Unfortunately, with these pro drafts or with the law draft, it doesn't always pick up the champion right away. And oh, don't play with my heart here. Oh, even more to
What?
work with here. Ah.
Wait, what? Is that a... So it's Lucian top Yasuo bot lane with the Alistar. So you're just going for that double melee bot lane with the, the classic Alistar knock up into Yasuo and the not getting to play the game. That does a lot of damage, but before level 6, it really doesn't do a whole lot.
I'm really curious where Ninetale Fox Onyx plans to have a winning lane, though. You have Cassiopeia. Alistar Yasuo, as you mentioned, doesn't really win bottom lane until they hit level 6 here. And once they do, Braum and Xayah by then are already going to be level 6 as well, and you can't exactly force onto the Featherstorm. However, I guess the point of focus for Ninetale Fox Onyx is going to be around the solution that they picked as their first pick. And they not only double flex it, they triple flex it. And that will potentially be going into the top lane. We'll have to see once again where these champions get locked in the actual client before we can actually say what role they go into, because it could very well be a Yasuo top as well. But one way or another, actually, I would argue it's a Yasuo top because I know that Popo does in fact play it. So
Oh.
Lucian bot Yasuo top into the Poppy. That is a really tough matchup.
Yeah, I mean, almost just because of the Poppy lock, and I would hope that it is Yasuo bot. But I mean, Yasuo bot or Yasuo top is not going to have a fun time in either lane in this game, really. Because I mean, you picked Alistar Yasuo, probably one of the strongest engaged bot lanes in the game at level 6, into Braum Xayah, which is I would argue, one of the strongest disengaged level 6.
Either way, it's going to be extremely tough for Ninetale Fox Onyx to be able to force these fights into the champions that Fever has picked. And a large part of that comes down to the fact that Fever has picked a very tanky front line for themselves. Volibear, Braum, Swain, Poppy, all are going to be playing these front lines to keep their Xayah alive. And this Xayah is going to be so tanky, or it has so much protection. And then even say that they manage to make it through, that they get the dive going on, Yasuo finds the engagement to the backline, you still have to deal with that Featherstorm at the end of the day. And from there, you're stuck again without any way to get back out. The Braum concussive blows come in. Volibear can slap you with a stun. Poppy is going to be shoving you around, and Swain can use any of these stuns, any of these CCs to pull you back just when you think that you're about to get out. If I'm Ninetale Fox Onyx, I'm really wondering how are we going to be able to win these fights if we're not able to find an early lead for Ninetale.
Fever, definitely, I would put it, I would put this as a very anti-fun comp to play against, because all 5 of the champions have very hard CC, and it's almost, you could almost argue that it's a protect comp on Xayah, which I wouldn't like, because I don't think Xayah does enough damage on her own to support a protect comp. But I mean, if the Swain gets fed, if the Poppy gets fed, even if the Volibear gets fed, he can really one-shot people on their own. But it's just going to depend on how the lanes play out. But I mean, if they are able to find leads on their own champions, they do a lot of damage, and it's gonna be very easy to engage onto this Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx comp.
The hard part for Fever, however, is going to be finding early leads for themselves when you have so many damage dealers on your side. Swain is going to be looking to take very short trades versus Cassiopeia, and really my biggest questions is watching Poppy try and deal with a ranged matchup on the top side of the map. You can cancel the Lucian dash, and that is absolutely a possibility here. But if the Lucian is smart enough and holds on to it, an auto attack into press the attack with a piercing light and waiting for steadfast presence once Poppy has gone through her initial rotation of abilities, there's not going to be a whole lot that Stubby will have left for himself to do, and we could easily see a turnaround in that top lane for Popo, or in the bottom lane, I should say. God, I keep thinking that this Lucian's top because it's on that top for the lol draft, but
Yeah.
now we look at the actual client, Yasuo in the top lane. Again, it's still kind of the same concept though, because once Poppy has gone in, yes, Yasuo shouldn't use that dash initially or else he'll be grounded, but once that steadfast presence is gone, Yasuo does have the DPS win versus Poppy. It's just going to take not getting blown up or taking poor trades early for the Yasuo, and once you've hit that first item or two, then we can see Popo really start to pop off.
I mean, I'm expecting Yasuo to have really probably the same issues as Gwen did into Poppy, because you're picking an all damage champion into a champion who's, like I said, Poppy's kit is built around not dying and not dying to dashes. And you picked another champion that goes in with a dash, does all the damage that he possibly can with, as many autos as he's able to get off before he dies, or if he's able to get out, which he's not usually able to once he goes in with his ult.
So that only leaves with us with one last thing, and that is telling you guys at home who you think is going to pull away with game 3 here. For myself, it is going to be Fever. I think that they just have too tanky of a front line. There's no way that Ninetale Fox Onyx is going to be able to win a team fight once they hit 20 to 25 minutes into this game. But I want to get your opinion for the final time tonight, Cam. Who do you think pulls out the dub here in xlnc mid lane?
Oh, I think if Fever is able to find a lead, they're going to be able to close out the game just as easily as they were in game 1. But if this game is as close, or not, game 2, if this game is as close as it was in game 1, I think this could possibly go the way of Ninetale, as they do have a very good comp here. I do think they have a much better comp than they did in game 2.
I will grant they have a lot of damage available for themselves, so there's a team that's going to be able to melt through this front line of Fever. It's going to be the Cassiopeia, the Yasuo, and the Lucian. All this damage coming out from Ninetale Fox Onyx, but like you said, it requires them getting ahead early. It requires them playing these early stages of the game well enough to not fall too far behind. Ladies and gentlemen, for the final time tonight, we're going to be throwing it over to a quick spectator delay as we get ready to head off into the Rift. Gungeon and MacDo will be bringing you the action in just a couple of minutes, so do not go anywhere. We'll see you guys soon.
Hello, summoners. Welcome back onto the Rift for game number 3 of this block 3. The 8th seed nine-tailed fox Onyx falling in the first 2 games against the 4th seeded Fever, looking very good, especially after that second game. Blue has to be a little careful about this 5-man Fever. Gunjan, they've been aggressive in these early games, to say the least, getting that Mountain Soul very early on. The final dagger in that game too, but Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx really showed us what they had in them in that first game, just falling a little bit short against Fever in game number 3. They've got a very spicy composition on the Rift for us.
They definitely have a spicy comp with this Yasuo top lane with Ignite, and I like this for the side of Popa because in game number 2 we didn't really see him utilize that TP to really come into those team fights. And if that's how Nine-Tailed Fox want to play, I would like it if they kind of just went full force into that playstyle of just saying, we're just gonna take top on Ignite on our top lane and just have him solo kill you. And if that's how they want to play, I'm all for it. So I'm excited that he's gonna play the Yasuo. It is something that he's incredibly comfortable on. I believe he said in the chat that he had 1.8 million mastery, some crazy number like that. I believe him. Most Yasuo mains, you know, you either have 10,000 mastery or you have a million mastery. There's no in between. I've never heard of like a 30,000 mastery. It's usually 1 or a million. So I'm excited to see that matchup, and I'm also excited to see Lori on that Cassiopeia pick. That was something that we were talking about when we were scouting her out, that she is known as this Cassio player, and so this is gonna be super exciting to see this pick that's been banned out in game 1, game 2. It feels like Fever's kind of daring them to see, hey, we'll let you pick your champions, show us what you can do. And they're overconfident, they're cocky, and I love them for it, but it can get them in trouble, especially when you give a Cassio player the Cassio pick.
Right, we heard on the analyst desk it was a struggle to figure out which lane was gonna have which champion, and funny enough, this lane swap coming through very early on. JTS notably in the first 2 games very solid in the mid lane, specifically finding a lot of roams that paid off with kills early on, getting a huge advantage. This time on the Swain, gonna be sticking in the side lane as Zongi once again his signature topside clear mid lane gank.
And I like the swap as well, and I like that the reverse swap did happen for the side of Fever. The big thing is that with having Swain in that bot side, he's gonna have a little bit less effectiveness, and they're basically kind of locking the Cassio and Swain into a scaling like lane up top, as there is gonna be a fight down bot, but most likely just gonna be sums burned on either side, as nobody's too hard forced on committing, especially with the river being so dark. And this is something that I want to talk about while we have time here. Whenever I think about bot lane and how 2v2 kills happen, a lot of times you think about bot lane 2v2 as like, oh, they just killed them. And a lot of times that can happen, especially in lower levels of play. But as we move on to coordinated play and higher levels of play, as we are going to see a play mid, when that happens, a lot of times to get a bot lane 2v2, you need kind of a 2-front engage. And what I mean by that is that you need that initial engage or that initial fight, or you burn the summoners, and then you need that secondary force, either with the jungler assistance or some mistiming that gets you that kill. And so I like that Jerry Blue and Murlex are trying to force this bot lane, because they do have the Lucian Alistar, a very aggressive lane that can get 2v2. So they're trying to just force summoners usage as much as possible. And if they can do that, there is possibility, especially with Typic on this Jarvan, that we haven't seen as much. Again, Zongi has commented that he thinks that this meta is going to turn it into a more aggressive gank always no farm lane, and when that happens, Jarvan will make his way into the meta, because that's exactly what he does. He doesn't scale, he doesn't really do anything besides spam gank and hope he wins.
Yeah, and we saw Zongi make a visit to the mid lane to help out Stubby in this early lane. The Poppy not as dominant as it was previously. Again, this is a big comfort pick for Stubby, as he's found a success on the champion before. Murlex barely able to flash away, much needed heal coming through, and that summoner spell advantage for Fever, surprisingly.
And they keep trying to force the 2v2, and they are getting good damage, but they're never getting like enough damage, and mainly that's from the fact that Murlocs has taken the phase rush in this lane. It is something that is seen a lot, and it scales a lot better into the game. But in terms of the 2v2, it is rough.
Stubby doing his best JDS impression. That is going to be first blood going over to Evil Zara. Meanwhile, Zongi in the top lane finding another one. JTS looking for a follow-up, but look at Lowry. She's popping off. Does get a return kill. Things not looking so bad for Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx, but a huge play in the bot lane coming through. Evil Zara getting some much-needed breathing room.
And you can take the Stubby out of the top lane, but you can't take the roams out of the Stubby. He is looking to make plays around the map, regardless of having that TP, which he had to expend because of just the great play from Popu. Gets the play bot lane, gets the kill, and that's the one thing I was saying is that they were forcing these bot lane engagements, but when you don't have that aftershock rune, Murlocs was getting chunked out every single time, and it felt like they were losing those engages that they were initiating themselves. And good play by Stubby to just push in the lane and just try to force a gank, and they end up getting the kill. They end up forcing the flash as well, and now, or they end up forcing the kill bot lane as well, and so now slight lead for the side of this Fever bot lane. Oh my god, my words hard game 3, sorry.
Not the note for your wolves on the rift just yet for Gunjin, Fail Guy 456. Tipic going to take the scuttle and leave immediately as he sees the potential roams coming through. For those just joining us, Morpheus, there has been some lane swap shenanigans as Popo finds himself back in the mid lane. Funny enough, Gunjin, his third different lane in 3 games. He was jungle first game, top game 2, and now he's finally back in the mid lane, hoping to at least try to grab a game in this series against Fever. They were really close in game number 1 again, but in game number 3 here, they're hoping to make some wombo combo plays happen to help them push for a dub.
And Popo, again, he doesn't want to wait an entire... Oh, great Poppy W there.
The double interrupt, wow.
That was incredibly close, because if he had gotten that knockup, that most likely would have been at least a flash. No flash, so maybe just a kill right there. And so good play by Stubby to just get great timing just to interrupt both of them. One thing I did want to mention is this top lane matchup with Lowry sitting on this Cassio pick and the Swain for JTS. It is a pick that we have seen JTS play before. He played it versus, I believe, Death Card's Academy in game number 2. But they weren't able to get much as the bot lane play. Oh, the predict!
That makes it just too easy for Zongi. Flash burned, kill picked up, Fever going up in the kill category early on, Gunjin, and this might just set themselves up for Dragon as well.
Yeah, this is gonna be another early Dragon for the side of Fever. It feels like it happens over and over again, but regardless, I think that there's a really good stronghold for the side of Nine-Tailed Fox, as this Cassio matchup is really strong favor for the Cassio. She's actually sitting on an 800 gold lead over the Swain, and she's just free scaling. They were talking about on the analyst desk that if this game went late, that it could be a situation where Nine-Tailed Fox did have the advantage, and with Lori playing this top lane situation, and with I feel like if... Sorry, I'm just blanking right now. For the side of Fever...
It's not no fear wolves.
For the side of Fever, there were situations where they could have just not opted for the swap, kept Lori in the mid, and focused her down with Zongi's pressure and ganks. And that's a play that they definitely could have made. But with this swap, it makes it so that Lori's kind of stuck. But are you stuck with Lori, or is she stuck with you? As they make another play topside.
Stubby is going to knock her right out. Doesn't want to be stuck with the snake, and that's going to be a kill. The Cataclysm stun. Stubby playing very, very well on his comfort Poppy pick.
Stubby knew exactly who he needed a Poppy ultied out the threat, was able to burst down Tipic after he just made a foolish ultimate in. They end up picking up plates as Rice Every Meal had also gone down, but bot lane,
Murlocs has got to be careful. No ultimate on the Alistar available. Just going to be taking the explosive cone out. And Evil Zara Gunjin, I feel like, has been doing a solid job holding down the fort in the bot lane so far, despite Rice Every Meal roaming quite a bit on this bro.
Yeah, Rice has been able to make plays around the map, and Evozar has just been able to kind of hold still ever since we saw those double solar flares land in game number 1. After those missteps, we'll say, he's kind of just cleaned up his positioning and has been a really big boon for the side of Fever in every one of these big team fights. He's just able to output consistent damage, and that's all that team needs from him. They have the playmakers in JTS and in Zongi. Stubby is able to disrupt the backline, and you have Evozar just getting damage after damage, but bot lane.
Oh, look at this. Jared Blue gonna try to finish him off with the culling, but the Featherstorm comes out. Look at Rice every meal. The smack coming in. The Winter's Bite connects. Marlix, he's looking to try to finish off Evil Zara, but the Ignite isn't enough, and he's forced to back off Gunjin. Evil Zara survives, and despite the kill going over to Fever in the bot lane, we see Typic on the top side of the map pick up that Rift Herald.
And it was so close for the side of Jared Blue, but again, the flash disadvantage that Evozar had made it so he was able to get the kill, get out, obviously with Rice's help, and just great play by the bot lane. Evozar just kind of holding his own, especially in that matchup that is so incredibly Lucian favored. But again, this top lane monster that is Lowry, she has been given the Cassiopeia, and she's going to get fed the resources to really carry, sitting at almost a 800 gold lead still versus the Swain.
It's been a tough matchup for JTS. On the Swain, not as much lane priority as he had on the Diana and on the Nocturne. Meanwhile, we see Stubby wanting to try to turn around this duel. Popo gonna use that final tornado to try to back off a little bit. The poppy damage, you can't sleep on it, Gunjin. And Stubby's been, I feel like, surprising the whole entire team in Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx the previous 2 games on the pick. And we see once again the ADCs are just 1v1, it feels like, in the bot lane.
Yeah, it just feels like a roam party for both sides. They're just trying to make plays all across the map. But I feel like for the side of Nine-Tailed Fox, the place to be making those plays, especially when you have Lori just in that top lane, kind of on an island by herself, free scaling, you want to be making plays on Evil Zara and Rice. And obviously it's difficult because Zaya and Braum are so almost ungankable, but you can try to force it because right now Typic is just running around the map, and I don't want to be harsh and say he's doing nothing, but the effectiveness of this Jarvan pick just gets weaker and weaker as this game goes on. Bear is just a better Jarvan at the end of the day. We all know that. We don't want to say it, but the Bear has taken Jarvan's job a long time ago after the rework, and so now it feels like Typic is just running around the map, and he's going to end up becoming a Yasuo ulti coordinator almost. Like, instead of a defensive coordinator, he's just a Yasuo ulti coordinator. He's like, okay guys, the Yasuo ulti goes in here right now.
Typic, we see him around the river trying to clear up some vision, but there's 3 members of Fever going in, finding the engage, the chain CC, interrupting the flag and drag, and this is just going to set up Baron perfectly. Typic, as you were just mentioning, Gunjin, not having the best game.
Not having the best game, and he's getting picked up, and a lot of that comes from the fact that every game Fever, whenever they get a little bit of a lead, their immediate goal is to try to control vision at that quadrant, and the quadrant they've chosen this game is bot lane, and that should be known because you can see JTS is just sitting top on an island with 0 help. He's getting Rift Herald thrown up there, he's getting Gank Stone up there, but all he's doing is holding the line while they just dominate this bot side quadrant, and Typic was just completely out of line, sitting in that bush without the flag, ready to jump out. He gets picked off, they lose the Cloud Dragon as well, and now with an Ocean Soul, they don't have a gold lead because of the dominance in lane that Lori has, but in terms of just free scaling and forcing the fight, there will be a fight at 23 minutes for this Ocean Soul, hopefully for the side of Fever, and at that point, it's going to be a last stand situation, because if you give Ocean Soul to the side of Swain in these team fights, when you have such low range characters like the Yasuo and Cassiopeia, he's going to be free sustaining, he's going to be unkillable, and he's going to then Demon Flare your entire team to death.
Yeah, and despite the kill advantage onto the side of Fever Gunjin, and despite the dragon advantage, it's Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx who have the gold lead. They have CS advantages all over, and now they have a beautiful flash there from JTS, avoiding the gank. Now Popo across map play going on here. The stun, Stubby once again finding the right angle. He paid attention in geometry. JTS meanwhile up in the top lane, so much CC, and the snake sinks her fangs right into the chicken. A tasty dinner up in the top lane for Lowry, as she is 2-0-0 on the Cassiopeia, and Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx finally playing around that strong top lane.
But you can see that JTS is doing his job, and he's doing it well. Even though he dies there, the amount of resources that he's kind of taking and holding the line with, in that situation, they get damaged mid, they get a kill mid as well, and they get bot tower. So even though it is advantage for the side of not No Fear Wolf, Nine-Tailed Fox, it is great play from JTS just to try to hold the line as best as possible. And right now, Evil Zara is sitting on 2 items. She's going to be close to finishing off either that Gale Force or that Kraken Slayer. And again, 23 minutes, there's going to be an Ocean Soul fight, and you better be ready because there's going to be 2 items Zaya hitting you.
Meanwhile, Popo just trying to chop down the immense stubby tree once again on a tank, once again seemingly unkillable in the lane. He's just been having such a solid series. I feel like handling Popo very well and just making sure that Fever have a top lane stalwart that they can rely on, who's there for the team fights, making big plays, finding big stuns. Stubby, a huge factor in these Fever wins. But looking towards the bot lane, Evil Zara 3-0-1. This isn't the first time he's been ahead, but if we flash back to game number 1, it was actually him not getting the right Featherstorm timings, not using Flash when he needed to, getting caught out against a heavy engage composition was how Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx really came up big and found a way to come back and kind of remove the goal deficit in that first game.
Yeah, and Evil Zara has the tendency of just getting picked out, especially when he has like the ability to get out of these CCs. So it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to be able to deal with obviously the Alistar flank, with the Jarvan engage, with the Yasuo engage. My big person that I really want to watch is how Lori ends up playing this top lane. Great ulti!
Ori trying to make the 1v4 outplay, is going to get caught by the Glacial Fissure. Rice every meal on point every single fight, finding the engage, and Stubby, the man of the hour, finding another huge play. Rift Herald is picked up by Zongi, but Gunjin, look at the mid lane. Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx always finding some decent trades.
And Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx find the great trade, but mid lane, they're going to try just look for an engage.
Popo does use the last breath there, a stun right onto Merlix. A lot of damage coming through, but the will is unbreakable. Root coming in, but the wind wall not enough to slow down Fever. Merlix just gonna try to save the jungler as more kills going over to the side of Fever.
More kills go to the side of Fever, but the big thing that goes over is that in 36 seconds, Ocean Dragon is going to be spawning, and that's going to be 3rd dragon for the side of Fever. They're going to be able to put the Rift Herald mid as well to try to crack some damage on that outer tower, and it feels like everything is going Fever. Again, the gold lead is incredibly even because Lori had a dominating lane position. Popo went against Poppy in mid lane, so he obviously is leading her in terms of CS and in gold, but in terms of just the momentum of the game, in terms of where this game is going, it feels like it's all Fever all the time, and it always feels like Nine-Tailed Fox is just on the back foot trying to make plays, but they're just never in position to.
It seems Fever want to try to push for this dragon. They got to be careful. We see Stubby on the top side of this fight, a little away from the team. They could look for the engage. They have so much. Dragon getting unaggroed. Look at them grouping up together. Everyone just waiting for the right moment to look for the engage. Fever burning down the dragon. It's secured by Zongi. Now the fight's starting. Stubby looking for the flank. He wants to try to find the stun right on to Popo, getting destroyed. The Petrifying Gaze coming in as well. The team fight very, very close. Evil Zara importantly up towards the Featherstorm coming in. The Blade Caller finishing off Merlix. Now the fight coming in. Tipic gets taken down next. Look at Stubby handling Jer Blue, taking the Star ADC right out of the fight and even getting a kill right onto him. We see JTS is taken down and Evil Zara has to back off. The solo carries for the side of Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx are holding down the fort. It's a 3-for-2 trade. Importantly, Gunjin though, Fever get the dragon.
Fever get the dragon, so they are going to put Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx on a 24.5-minute soul timer. But the big person for the side of Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx is Lori. She's finally having that game. They gave her the Casio pick, and you can see why this is perma-banned against her, because she's having a monstrous performance. It feels like everyone is trying to dive on her, but she's playing these fights and these ranges so well, and nobody is able to get into her range, because if Stubby walks in, he gets chunked. If JTS walks in, he gets chunked. The only way is if they find a flank and just instantly burst her. But I get scared for the side of Fever, because these fights are getting closer and closer, and this Casio is getting stronger and stronger.
Lori is, I remember in lobby chat, she said, thanks for giving me the Casio. Evil Zara said, no problem. We'll have to see if Fever is going to be living to regret the no ban priority. They banned away the snake previously, wanted to try to switch things up for game 3, and we see the explosive cone is going to come up a little big for Stubby, as they're actually positioning around Baron Gunjin, the vision control that you've talked about so much for Fever, coming in full force.
And you can see, if you switch to blue side vision, just see what Nine-Tailed Fox can see on the map. They cannot see a single thing besides just the lanes. And so this Baron is completely blind. They're going to have to face check, but it might just be too late.
Popo wanting to rotate down to position. It's a two-man knock-up. Evil Zara's low, but not dead just yet. The full engage coming in. A huge petrifying engage is going to stun everyone up. Baron is getting so low, but the fight is flipping. Fever! Baron secured by Zombie. Lowry gets taken down. Merlix is the last one standing. And JTS and the boys get the objective.
JTS and the boys definitely going to be objective, but it was incredibly close. It looked like Lori's petrifying case caught Evil Zara completely off unexpectedly, as he got stunned and died almost immediately, but it felt like Lori just didn't have enough backup, and Popo got immediately bursted the second he took that last breath. These fights are so close, and Jerry Blue wasn't even in that fight. So again, I believe it was a 4-for-2 in favor of Fever, but these fights are closer and closer. And without this Baron buff, again, Fever's team isn't a team that can really pressure towers that well. They can have the Xayah walk up and try to get some damage, but Casio should be able to hold any waves that get too close. So this won't be a Baron that really breaks open the game, but it's just more gold to try to pump into the team, more stats to try to get a fight, because once this Ocean Dragon fight happens, that is going to be key, because that's when the maker gets made. That's when Lori is going to have the chance to 1v5 the enemy team and see what she's made of. And right now, she's made of 3 items that are incredibly strong and incredibly powerful.
The Snake's boots aren't meant for walking. They're meant for pure DPS. 5, 2, and 1 so far. Lowry is going to need to have a big fight in just about a minute, as Fever sit on Ocean Soul Point with the Baron power play online. We see now Nine-Tailed Fox, Onyx, Gunjin. They're going to be trying to get as much vision as possible around this area before the big fight.
Yeah, 49 seconds, and they're kind of just setting up vision. And again, Fever knows exactly where they're at, so even if they don't end up face checking, even if they end up giving up this dragon, that's fine, because this is just one Ocean Dragon for the side.
Oh, Zongi. Petrifying Gauge misses the flash right onto Lowry. The Snake doesn't get the chance to pop off. Look at the huge knockups coming in. Zongi staying alive. No last breath coming out just yet. Popo doesn't find the knockup combo he was looking for. And now Stubby lays down the hammer. Rice every meal picking up the kill. 5 members strong in the mid lane. Gunjin, they pick up 4 kills. And once again, Blue on the Lucian. Just not at the right place at the right time. Gets a return kill right onto Rice every meal, but the late night snack might not be enough.
And Fever's going to be able to pick up that late night snack in the 4th dragon. The Ocean Soul is going to be committed. Now the mid lane inhibitor is also probably going to fall, as they have position. Lori is up in a second, so it looks like they're going to be able to hold the inhibitor, but this Ocean Soul is going to be so big, and these fights are so close. In that situation, if Merlix just doesn't hit the headbutt there, it looks like Lori would probably get the Petrifying Gaze onto Zongi, probably be able to instantly kill him off, and the fight is completely different. But great play by Zongi to catch the most important member of Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx, and it's so close in these fights. And even with the Ocean Soul, I proclaimed that the game would be over when the Ocean Soul was taken, but I did not expect Lori to have such a dominant Casio kind of portfolio. I don't even know what the word for this is, but she's playing so well on this Casio pick that it is a champion that can go blow for blow with any buff. Regardless, if there's a Casio in the game, there's always a chance. And this is not one of those chances where I say, if you get a 5-man ulti, you get a 5-man ulti. Lori is playing well enough that she could genuinely carry a game versus Ocean Soul. She could carry a game versus literally anything. So I'm excited to see where this game goes. I'm excited to see how Ninetale Fox set up the next team fight. Because again, Elder is up in 5 minutes, so they can just try to hold the line and maybe just flip Elder. Just go for the 50-50, try to get something.
Right. We see Stubby once again in the side lane. He's going to be holding down the fort nicely, and Blue might actually be caught out here. Zhongyi has a lot of move speed on this volley bear. Typic just watching the massacre potentially happen in the top lane. Lowry is here, not getting caught out just yet. Has to be careful.
Way too strong, and in that fight, Lori was already starting the fight off with almost a third of her mana pool. She just didn't have enough mana to DPS down, and she gets caught.
Look at the damage coming out. Evil Zara carrying on this late game Zyra. The whole team together, standing strong. Fever want another 3-0 on the season. Blue just gonna have to back off. Popo waiting for the right moment to use that last breath. Not gonna get a chance to do it. Has the final Steel Tempest. He's looking. Can he find the Wombo combo? But he gets knocked up first. Gunjin, he's getting taken down. He doesn't have a chance to ult. And Nine-Tailed Fox Onyx are looking like they're gonna fall here in game 3. Blue doing his best bang impression, trying to pull off the surprise carry, but that's the first Nexus turret falling. The culling getting absorbed by all the minions. Fever stands too strong. Evil Zara flashing forward, looking for the kill. Doesn't get taken down, healing from the Ocean Soul. The Nexus is the next to fall, and Fever come up big in fashion. They find the consistency they were lacking last week, and they cement themselves as a top team here in mid-league.
And the game was close the entire way, but just in some crucial team fights, Lori gets caught out. They lose the Ocean Dragon, and in the top lane fight, it felt like Ninetale Fox was just incredibly eager to try to get something to work, but they had time to free scale. They had a Casio getting ready to kind of ascend into that godlike state, but they ended up taking the fight with Lori on 1/3 mana. They couldn't pull it through, and the Ocean Dragons were too much. And as 28 minutes came around, Fever picked up the win. They pick up the 3-0, and they put on a dominant performance to show why the bargain bin buy was the best buy, Mac. Money moves, Mac. We all knew. It was a bargain bin buy for a tier 1 team that we bought at tier 2, and they're kind of showing why they were expected to be that top tier team in Excellency Mid-League.
For the price, you get 2 points per Fever win in the standing stonks game in Gunjin. The portfolio is looking really, really nice. Little 401k, pretty solid. A lot to be happy about after this series as Fever, they rely on their comfort picks. They've got the Poppy for Stubby, Evil Zara on the Zaya all 3 games, showing his prowess on the champion. Unkillable, it felt like. Only 1 death in game number 2, and I don't know if he actually died in game 3 he only had 1 death. I don't know if he died in game number 2. Regardless, we are going to pass it back over to the analyst desk for a little game 3 breakdown, a post-series breakdown to add on to that. But don't click out of that browser. We'll be having the post-game interview come up in just a bit. Icarus, Cam on the analyst desk, take it away.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game 3 has ended and Fever come out victorious with a 3-0 fashion. It was looking a little close there from Ninetale Fox. I had hope in the Lori Cassiopeia that we finally got to see in the final game there, but it just did not do enough, unfortunately. And Cam, how are you feeling after that final game? I know we're a little bit down today because I'm feeling good with some Fever stocks, but your Ninetale Fox Onyx stocks aren't looking so hot.
No, it's very, very unfortunate. I was hoping it looked really good from game one. We almost got the upset in game one with Ninetale taking it, but in the end it was the 3-0 Fever. I mean, I can't be too disappointed. I did pick one of the teams in the lower third, but I mean, it was really close. It was really, really close.
There was definitely a couple of moments there where I thought Ninetale Fox Onyx had a couple of opportunities. I think this last game, we were talking a little bit, and we had some questions about the itemization coming in here from Ninetale Fox Onyx. I think if they had just had a little bit more percentage health damage, especially on the Cassiopeia, picking up the Leandries, picking up the Demonic Embrace, at least from my perspective, would have looked so much better, and they would have been able to take some of those late game team fights. What do you think that Ninetale Fox Onyx can pull away from this and try to work on for next week?
I definitely think that they did lose the game a little bit to the shopkeeper in some parts of the game. I agree. I think Lori played out of her mind that game, by the way. I have to put that out there. Like, the Cassiopeia, she got her one trick. She pulled it off extremely well. She won her lane as hard as she could, but unfortunately, this isn't solo queue. This is a team competition, so she couldn't pull off the 1v9 outplays that she was hoping for in the end, but Fever did pull it out.
Fever's doing a phenomenal job this entire night tonight, pulling out all 3 of these wins here. I mean, throughout this entire series that we saw dominating performance. This last game, we saw it coming out from the bottom lane and from Stubby, Zaya, and Poppy putting in so much work throughout that last game of this series. And really, Stubby with some amazing outplays, especially if we look at the early play in the top lane.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was the Poppy Kingdom. I can't. You saw the 1v1s in the early game. They were very close to that I can't remember, Cassiopeia.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, I mean, the Poppy absolutely destroyed Jerry Blue in the 1v1s before and after Dragon fights, and it was like, what can you even do?
And we were talking that, there's a couple of moments where Stubby could have gone harder on his fights, and I think that he would have been able to pick up some kills for himself that he didn't get otherwise. And the Poppy pick really at the draft overall coming in from Fever, just really on point tonight. The Morgana jungle coming in game 1 and 2 being such a commanding victory, being able to play around mid lane and find consistent leads for JTS and Zongi. Then game 3, Stubby pulling out the second round of Poppy into the Yasuo, into the Lucian. Cassiopeia doesn't have any dashes, but being able to force the engage onto that immobile carry is going to make it even harder for Lori. The sub coming in, putting up quite a performance in that final game there for Ninetale Fox Onyx. But, ladies and gentlemen, we do have an interview brought to you by Gungeon and Mac Dewey. We've managed to find none other than the Poppy player himself. Stubby is going to be joining us on the desk tonight with a couple of questions. Go ahead and take it away, Mac Dewey.